And we are live. Good evening, everybody. My name is Hetal Joshi. I am an organizational psychologist and the CEO of OPsych as part of our ongoing initiative to support the community with regards to mental well-being. I am interviewing a lot of different experts and everyday heroes just like you and I. Today, we have somebody from our Facebook group, someone who I've known from our Facebook group, Mental Health at Work. Shout out. Shout out Mental Health at Work Facebook group. You guys are super awesome. We've just hit about 1,400 people, all super organically. Wow. There is absolutely no digital marketing involved. And it has only been day 27 of having that group. Dishen reached out on the Facebook group and mentioned that he had also been interviewing a lot of other people. Dishen is previously an engineer, but now a host of also, not previously, but also a host of Health Matters. He has interviewed over 50 different experts on health, and he appears, I think his show is on Astro Awani as well. Dishen, I leave it to you. Who are you? And tell us maybe something unique about yourself.
All right. Thank you, Hetal, for having me. My name is Dishen Kumar. I am a broadcast engineer, but I also have my own show on Astro Awani. The show is actually called Health Matters, and the show is actually about tackling issues from perspectives of doctors and patients. I've been at Awani for about 3 years, coming up to 4 years now, and I started off as an engineer. I still am an engineer, but what I got lucky was that I actually managed to get an opportunity to start creating content. And knowing me, I am actually quite passionate about content creation and trying to give impact to whatever I'm talking about, conversations or videos or interviews and things like that. So health was one of the topics that doing research, I realized that it was something that people didn't really talk about. The Asian mentality is, if something is wrong with me, then I'll take it seriously. But health is something that we always take for granted. So I thought that it would be a good idea to start conversations about health and try to change perspectives of people on certain issues by not only listening to doctors, but also listening to patients. And that human connection and human essence is what I wanted to bring to the show, and that has been going on. So the show started about February last year.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for bringing light into something very important. And as you have said extremely correctly, health is something that we consider as wealth, right? We always, there is no such thing as, money is the most important thing. When we talk about wealth, we always say health is wealth, health is wealth. And you say that that's something that we take always for granted. I also like that you've taken the perspective of not just the doctors, but the ones who are experiencing the issues and also experiencing the journey of recovery, and that those are the patients. So, Dishen, am I right to say that you've interviewed over 50 experts/patients in the past year that you've been
taking? We've done about over 50 episodes. The show has gone on for about a year. So so it's been a wonderful experience, and I've talked to a lot of people about a lot of things, and it's been really good.
Fantastic. So, what are the top 3 things that you have gained that has blown your mind with regards to what you've learned from either the experts or the patients? What are 3 things that have really blown your mind?
Okay, not to be putting me on a spot, Hetal, but thanks for that. So the top 3 things that I've learned is for doctors, it's something they deal with every day. If you go to an oncologist who deals with cancer patients every day, the one thing that he realized, he always says that people do not take their health for granted, and people do not know about a lot of issues that they may have. There are a lot of, and I don't want to scare everyone out there watching this video, but what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of health issues out there that I feel we need to be more vigilant. We need to know what we're dealing with. And there is not enough of exposure or education on a lot of types of disease, and people are quite ignorant. The public is quite ignorant. And while I was talking to patients, so this translated into me talking to patients, and the one thing that they said is that I regret that I did not know about this disease earlier, or I regret that I did not take care of myself more when I could or when I was healthy. So the three things that I would say is doctors saying that patients are the people are not really taking their health seriously. There's not a lot of education and exposure to health, and patients with a lot of regret saying that they should have done something earlier before things became worse and their health deteriorated and things like that.
What is something that was that you thought people should know about, but they still didn't seem to know? Is there an example that you could share?
So on one of the episodes, one of the first few episodes, I actually spoke to one of the episodes was about rare diseases. So if people don't know this, there is a rare disease clinic in Hospital Kuala Lumpur, HKL. And I went there. I managed to talk to a parent who has a whose child has a rare disease. And when I went there, I did not know what to expect, or how bad it was going to be, or what are my expectations, because rare diseases is something that you read about, you could do research, but when you want to sit down with someone and have a discussion with them, you cannot be the one asking layman questions, and you can't really, you need to know what you're dealing with. So when I went there and we sat down, and it was such an environment, because you have children who have these rare diseases who don't live very long, but sitting there, going through their treatment, having joy in their life, it was one of the most, I wouldn't say memorable, but impactful experiences I've had, in where these are children out there who don't have a lot of years to live, but are still there every day in the hospital fighting for their lives. And you hear from parents who struggle, who try to gain some hope when they know that the life expectancy of their child is in a year or two, or in a few months, and things like that. So that was a very difficult episode for me, because me sitting down and talking, and me trying to sound, not to sound so morbid, but not to sound so sad, you kind of have to give them hope, but in the back of your head there's this knowledge that you know that the child may not be there for very long. And yeah, that was very, very impactful, and gave me more meaning on what I do, and talking about health and trying to get people exposed to all things.
Right. Oh, that must be pretty horrifying. I remember my mom telling me that a parent's worst nightmare is to have to bury their child. That is the single most biggest nightmare that a parent would ever have. And what you're trying to say is that there is a demographic who might be experiencing this. And we often have this illusion of invulnerability, that it will never happen to us. Maybe it can happen to other people, but definitely not to us. And that's some of the reasons why we don't wear seatbelts, or some of the reasons why we eat unhealthy, some of the reasons why we may be smoking and drinking, even though every piece of research suggests we shouldn't.
I mean, it's we are so ignorant until it happens to us or somebody close to us. Then we're like, oh, we get that our bubble bursts, and we get the realization that I'm not as invulnerable or invincible that I thought I was.
Right. Did any behavior of yours change after listening to 50 interviews?
Yes, a lot. So what I realized is that even myself, I actually I was actually taking my health for granted a lot. I've been doing it for a long time, thinking that I'm fine, I'm good, I don't really have to do this, I don't have to exercise, I don't really have to eat healthy. But I actually did something which was last year I got married, and before my wedding, I decided to let's start listening to the advices of all these doctors out there and start just by doing one thing was to by eating healthy. And I started eating healthy, and the changes that I experienced just by that doing by just by not having unhealthy food, just by make sure I have enough carbs and make sure I have enough my vitamins. I started taking multivites. The changes I experienced was so profound and uh, was so different. I felt like a different person. I felt more active. I felt so much more engaged in everything that I did. My productivity increased. And even just with that, I realized that all of us need to really start doing a small thing. We don't have to change everything in our lives. It's very difficult. Change is very difficult for a lot of people. But taking small steps to reach certain goals is something that all of us can do.
Mm. And what are three things maybe that you heard was inconsistent between doctors? I'm not trying to put you in a spot right now, but are there things that even professionals haven't quite landed on some common understanding, or that they even maybe what do you call it? What is that word? Where you I forget that
Something
word
you're
now.
not doing right, or
Not doing right, but it's what is that word where I say something and you say something completely differently. There's no consistency. It's just basically there is
okay.
no consistent landing from healthcare professionals. Is there a time where you ask three people, healthcare professionals, and they gave you three completely different advice?
So one thing that I realized that a lot of healthcare professionals out there, the experts that I talk to, they have all this knowledge, right? They have all this information, but how can it be translated into something more um, consumable for the public was their struggle. So they have all this information, and they say you can do this, you can do that, you can try this, you can try that. But when it gets trickled down to towards media and how it gets consumed by the public, a lot of people don't really get the actual message. So,
Mm,
for instance, I did an episode on diabetes, on sugar in foods.
mm,
So we actually called people, people from random people, and asked them to uh, guess how much of sugar cubes in carbs were in certain types of foods. So we had like a bowl of rice, we had like um, a bread with jam and chocolate malt drink, and we asked people to guess, and what they guessed was so much more less than what it actually was. So people, even with all the information out there, and even with all with the internet, you can just search anything online nowadays. People are still so misinformed, and doctors struggle to try to correct that. You hear about people who are against vaccines, anti-vaccines. It's so difficult for doctors, even doctors that I spoke to. It's so difficult to get the message out there, and I'm just trying to do that with these interviews. But still, we don't really know whether the message is actually getting out there, whether what we want to know and what's important is it getting into the public's heads, and are they thinking about their health in that way.
mm. Do you feel then that there are very important things in our lives, such as finances, health, relationships with our family members or spouses? These are very, very important things in our life. And maybe, if you asked anyone what is the most important thing for you, it could even be like happiness or family relationships, finances, health. These are the subjects we are not educated on.
Yeah, I mean, a very interesting thing that all of us know is that in school they don't teach you the most important thing is how to do your taxes. I mean, we are, and that's quite important because if you don't do your taxes, you go to jail. So that type of information, people don't. Um, we are not given the proper education in the things that are important. So if you ask me what I feel important in life, I feel is important to be happy. something that's very difficult to do is to be happy. As human beings, we always want to achieve, we always want more, we want this, we want that. We have expectations, we have goals, we have dreams, all of that. But what's important is for us to actually be happy. And I've always tried to do that, to make that as my goal. As if I'm older, I'm starting to talk like an old man, I'm so sorry, Hital, but if I'm older, but
Wise man.
wise man, yeah. So if I'm older and I look back at my life, I know that I was happy, and every decision I've made is to find that goal in life. It's to be happy. It's a simple goal, but it's very difficult to achieve.
That's true. And we kind of, just the other day, I was having a chat with my friend, and she was saying, what is the point of being educated on these kind of things? This is something that you learn as you go through life. But for me, we're having a healthy debate, and I was just saying, for things that are so important, we think life should teach us rather than we should be educated strategically. When we are driving, we get a license, we learn how to operate a car. We go through a lot of tests, theoretical and practical, to be able to pass so that we can utilize a tool, which is a car. Because if you drive a car wrongly, you are causing yourself and other people harm. But when it comes to, for example, happiness, if you don't learn it strategically and consciously, you actually, not you, but we are walking around like mini explosives. We are in danger to ourselves, and we are in danger to other people as well. So how can it be something that we chance upon rather than something that is consciously designed into our curriculum? So my question then for you is, from a media perspective, I guess what you're trying to do is educate the public, but where is the media failing then as well?
One thing I can tell you very directly and very frankly is that health is a boring subject for a lot of people. Sad to say, it's the truth. It's something that I had to deal with. If you want to talk about health, not a lot of people are going to listen. You want to talk about scandals, yes. You want to talk about politics, yes. You want to talk about sports, yes. But if you talk about health, they turn the channel or they watch something else. I would say that nowadays our attention span on memes, on funny videos, on TikToks there's a lot more attention to spend on those things rather than on things that are important. But that's who we are. We're human beings. We take everything else. We don't take the important things seriously. That's how we are. But one thing that I realized is, as media perspective, from the media perspective, what we can do differently is we need to try to make people watching your show or your content or your video or even this Facebook Live to connect with something. It could be the patient saying something. It could be the doctor giving you a light bulb effect in your head, going like, oh, wow, I did not think of that. So that type of engagement, that one moment that content can have, even letting someone watch that, when someone is watching that video and they look back at the live, I'm like, oh my God, I think I need to change something. That's the type of impact that I'm looking for. And to me, it doesn't matter whether 1 million people watch my videos, but if I can change one person's life, or even let them look at their life more seriously in how healthy they are and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, I think that's a win for me.
Yeah. I think really well said, in the sense that, I mean, this is something that I'm trying to grapple with as well. Media, or, social media in general, and I guess the way human beings tend to be, because we have dopamine, so we like a hit, we like a rush, we like a little bit of a distraction, we like to feel entertained, we like to feel important, then makes very important topics that are a little bit more complicated difficult for us to want to consume. And you're absolutely correct. I mean, I have been TikToking like crazy with my nephew and niece, because it's something that relates to them. But very often, I'm totally against a lot of things. I know I'm on Facebook Live, but I know this is where people are at. and this is the reason why I'm here. But if I had a choice, I know I have a choice. And I know that I'm also contributing towards, this social media disease or whatsoever.
I disagree with the fact that you say it's a disease. I think that it's a platform for people to consume stuff. And even today, we are on Facebook Live right now, and I feel like whoever's watching, if we can make an impact on their lives by having this conversation, it's a win for us.
Sure.
And I feel that the only problem with social media, and people say, like you said, social media disease, is that people spend too much of time on it. So too much time doing something too much is where the problem starts. Gaming, your phone, whatever, So I think it's a good platform. It's the way people consume. It's going to change how we consume content for the next 100 years. And it's something that we need to it won't go away. It's something you can't get rid of.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's here to stay. So I think what you're saying about making content more relevant, making content more engaging, and making content more connectable or relatable is really, really important. And especially for topics where we just, I don't want to talk about health and about problems. And stuff like that.
One funny story about that was, I remember I did a show on cancer, lung cancer, and it's a very hard topic to do. And I remember trying to tell a friend about the show, and I'm gonna have the show this week is on lung cancer, and I could see the fella's face change, like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And he's not going to do it because nobody wants to know about something that's going to kill them. So that's the struggle that we face in creating content for health.
Yeah, I guess that's where the opportunity lies as well. I think, Dishen, just to kind of, draw light to what you're saying, one thing that we are guaranteed is death, right? Apart from taxes, even taxes is questionable sometimes, especially now COVID-19. But one thing that is guaranteed for sure is death. Yet we are still not prepared for will writing. We have not, the way that we would prepare for marriage, the way that we would prepare for school or birthday, we haven't prepared for death. And as a psychologist, when we work with organizations and we hear about people whose families passed away, family members passed away, and they go through such enormous periods of grief. And I keep wondering, what can we do differently, or I do in my profession, so that I bring light to moments in our life that is really going to cause us grief and definitely going to happen. But I bring light to this a little bit earlier on. And you're right to say that you need to have a very, you probably have to have a very entertaining approach to things that are not entertaining at all. It has to be very relevant.
It's difficult, yeah.
So one of the things that the company did, because it's also an insurance company, one of the things that they did was they brought a coffin and they put it right in the middle of the office. And they said, you're going to end up there one day. Let's talk about it now. So really quite, I think, a way to shake the system up. Another very interesting campaign that I've, witnessed personally myself is something run by Women's Aid organization. I'm not an advocate of, Women's Aid organization per se. I do love them, and I'm definitely, do my best to support them. They're amazing. But one of the things that they did very uniquely was talking about child marriages. And for a lot of us, we may not have been exposed directly to a child, nor exposed to a child getting married. But what they did was that really shook me at my core, and I was in tears, was they got an 8-year-old girl to wear heels and to wear a wedding gown with lipstick and everything, and handcuffs, so to speak, as well. So I think there's a huge place for it. It just has to be a real big shocker as well. Dishen, I actually wanted to talk to you about, now that we have maybe about 5 minutes.
We already have 5 minutes.
Well, there are many more opportunities. There are many more opportunities.
Sure.
And as I was saying, I was so happy today on our Facebook group that a lot of people posted up things today, more than any other day prior to this, in the 27 days that we've been operating, so to speak. And I'm really happy to not be committee-led anymore, which is I would love to walk away from not walk away, but at least support
Don't
it.
walk away. Don't walk away. Come on.
Like,
We'll miss you, Rita. Come on. Don't
it's
walk
very
away.
tiring. It's very, very tiring. But I'm doing this for community, and what I love is that there are people coming up, and I know that there are people who will be more than happy to take lead in some areas. And one of the things that we talked about was a friend of mine had contacted me. He's male, and he was talking about. He was just saying that, hey, Kato, can you do more stuff about men and men experiencing mental health related issues? So, Dishen, I just want to know from personal life perspective. Are there times where you've been in a very deep dark hole and it was very, very excruciatingly painful?
Okay. I have to share this experience that I had in my own personal life. Was you guys know me as Dishen Kumar. You guys know me as the guy who's an engineer and who does this show, and that's how everybody around me knows me. But I struggled for a lot with the both roles. I felt that I was being stretched a lot, and that actually affected my mental health. And this was just last year. So I felt that I did not know how to cope, and I did not know how to handle my situation. It felt like it was a lot of time management. I was working, and after work, I used to do my show, and after this, I used to do that, and this, and that, and I had a wedding coming up, and issues, and family, and friends, and everything. It was a lot. And I realized that I started to lose productivity. I started to be more introverted. I did not know how to share how I felt, um, which is all guys out there. So guys, please don't please don't bash me for saying this, but it's true. A lot of men, we do not know how to share our feelings, and that impacts us deeply. That we cannot say how we feel. So I felt at that point in my life that I needed to do something to change how I felt. I went to see someone, and that person told me that he was a mental health professional, and that person told me that I was showing early signs of depression. And it came to a shock to me, thinking like, why is that so? I mean, I was going to get married. I was having this show on TV, and life was good, and I was getting my content out, and people knew who I was. And why did I suddenly show signs of depression? I was not depressed. First thing hit me, denial. I was not depressed. There's nothing wrong with me. But eventually you see the signs. Eventually you know that you're not the same person that you are. There is something, you are somebody else. And I felt it with my personal relationships as well. People said you were different. I was different. And after speaking and talking, there was this one moment where I had that light bulb moment, talking to the professional, and what he said. And I just had a sense of reflection, and I was like, wow, I did not think of it like that. And just getting a different perspective from another person changed my mood immediately. And I felt so much better after that. And I had to go for a few more sessions and things like that. But that light bulb moment and being able to reflect and understand how I feel is so important. And being a guy, we do not talk about our feelings. It's been programmed in our heads for a very, very long time, but that has to change. We need to be able to speak about our feelings, because suppressing feelings only leads to problems.
Is this the first time you're ever sharing this in public?
Yes, I would say, yeah.
Congratulations. What
Thank
makes you
you.
want to share this?
I think that what I went through was something that a lot of people, men and women, are going through, being stretched at work, losing productivity, losing their motivation, being demotivated. And I think that just by saying that it happened to me as well, it it tries to eliminate a bit of stigma from this topic. Because even for me, it was difficult for me to even go out and say I want to speak to someone. The back of my head was saying, why, you're fine, you don't really need to go. So that back voice that we have in our heads, that's the program that people have, the society has put on it, saying that if you have a mental health issue, there's something really wrong with you. But no, it's not. Everybody goes through this problem. It's normal. That's part of being a person, a human being. That's how we function. We have problems and we see someone and we solve it. That's how life is. And shouldn't be any stigma related to it. There shouldn't be any fear or denial, or it cannot happen to me. Why can't it happen to you? It happens to the best of us. It could happen to anybody. So I'm just trying to, by sharing my story and trying to eliminate a lot of stigma attached to the subject.
Thank you so much, Dishen. You're a dream come true, because a friend of mine was saying that we need to have more men. I have always been a big, huge perpetrator of, not perpetrator, like propagator. I do want more men to be looked after emotionally and also partake in an emotional growth experience. Because if women have the support, which I'm not sure whether all women do, but it's a lot more allowable. But if men don't, then we're going to have a breakdown in society. That's the end of that, and we need to change that. You talked about a light bulb moment. What was that light bulb moment? What changed? What was the statement that was said, or what was the reframe that happened? What was before versus the after?
So for me, it was an issue that I had, a personal issue that I had, which I tried to solve, because I feel that I'm a problem solver. And when there is an issue, I will put all my energy to solve it. And that was, my brain was on problem solving mode. We have to solve the issue. Let's do it now. It must happen immediately. Then I can move on with my life. But what the mental health professional told me was, that's not how life works. There is this factor, or there is this thing called time. Time will make things easier. And I never thought time is actually a friend. I thought time is the enemy. We need to solve the problem now. We need to settle it now, or else it's going to be issue. And when the time thing came into play, I was like, wow, I never thought I could actually put time, let things settle, and it could take 10, 20 years. Even he said it took 10, 20 years for him, and he shared his own personal experience of his own problems. And it hit me, it was like a light bulb moment, like I said. I was like, why didn't I think of it like that? Oh my God. And immediately I could feel this burden lift from me. And I was like, you don't have to solve this right now. Why? And that actually helped me. Yeah, that actually helped me to handle my feelings and handle the issue. And I'm so much better today.
Yeah, that's a very profound thing. I've never heard that phrase in my life. They always say time heals, and then you're like, what time heals? What rubbish are you talking about? I need to have it solved now. But when you say,
exactly,
we always think time is the enemy and working against us, and we always talk about time scarcity or time hungry. But you're actually saying that, time friendly. Time is your friend. And with time, you experience something that no solution ever can bring to you. It brings across something. I know one of my friends who I interviewed told me that during her divorce, so when she looks back, it's taken over 12 years and she's still recovering. And I thought that was really powerful for her to just tell people, sometimes it takes 12 years. Enjoy the next 12 years. Don't rush it.
Yeah.
Enjoy and let the years pass and just see what happens at the end of it as well. So with this Dishen, I have a request.
Oh, okay.
And I know that you will take it up because
oh no,
you have a choice.
I need your help.
Yeah, I need your help to take over at least one session if possible, where you can get a few men, maybe moderate it and have a nice conversation. Sometimes guys need guys, or they do better. Sometimes they do better with women, but
but that's the thing. Even with guys and friends, guy on guy, like talking and having a conversation.
Okay, you might want to rephrase that. I'm not guy on guy.
Like two guys talking, sharing, two friends sharing conversations. It's very difficult for even them, good friends, to actually share what they feel. And immediately in our heads, what goes on is, I don't have to share this. I'm a man. Just suck it up and, get on with your life. That has to change. So that's why we need more conversations on that. Because even good friends, people who you have known for years, they can't share how they feel. And
Yeah.
that's sad.
Absolutely. So, looking forward to your episode on mental health with men, and making it a very safe conversation, but one that can hopefully help a lot of other men. Because sometimes, as a female, and a mental health professional, then it seems to be like a more female thing, but not necessarily, of course. So,
Yeah,
Dishen, good luck. If you need any help, I'm here. But that's your next homework, unfortunately.
Oh, so I was called on this Facebook Live and given homework. Nice work, Hetal.
Not necessarily lah, but there's always this wonderful thing called in certain times you have an opportunity that presents itself, and I will connect you with friends of mine as well who I'm sure would love to have that conversation too.
I'll be honored. I'll be honored.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been
Thank you so much.
this has been
And thank you, everyone who's watching.
yeah, unfortunately, these days at 6 o'clock is a bit tough for everybody. But we will definitely continue to circulate it. I'm sure that it will hit a couple of people. I really appreciate
No
the time,
problem.
Dishen.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with everything. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye, guys. Stay safe and take care.
You too. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.